another episode of Business Spotlight. My name is Martinique Brown. I'm so excited that you all have decided to watch the show today. You know why? Because I have such a special guest here that is going to tell you so much more about her bookstore. Before we get started, if this is your very first time ever watching one of my shows, thank you so much for tuning in. The way that we make this show so much more entertaining and interactive is actually if you post your questions and comments in the comment field. And another way that I really help my viewers out is I actually have all of Trenessa's information in the description box so that you can visit her Facebook page as well as visit her website. Make sure that you go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is Martinique the Storyteller. Also on Instagram, Martinique the Storyteller as well. Make sure that you go ahead and follow me on there. If you truly enjoy my shows, make sure that you visit my GoFundMe campaign so we can always just continue to make these shows possible. Without further ado, welcome Trenessa to the show for me.
Hi.
Everybody. Welcome.
How are you?
I'm doing so well. I'm so excited to have you on the show because you are a bookstore owner, and the name of her bookstore is called Kizzy's Books and More. She has actually decided to open up a bookstore that actually focuses on the African American experience and culture. And that's why I'm just so thankful that she's on the show, is because we don't have many bookstore owners that has that specific focus like that. So like I said, make sure that you all ask Trenessa questions so that you can learn more about her as well as learn more about her bookstore. So Trenessa, welcome to the show. Thank you again.
Hi, thank you for having me. I can't stop waving. So
I know, right?
I'm waving out.
Let me tell you, I am such a waver too. I'm like,
yes. And that's what I'm like, let me stop. Okay, I got it out now.
I know, right? So why did you decide to establish a bookstore that actually focuses on highlighting the African American culture?
Okay, this idea started over 10 years ago. There was a bookstore that used to be here in Orlando called Montessori Books. And so while I was an undergrad at FAMU, I used to visit my sister ever so often. And we would go to this bookstore on Tampa Ave, and I loved that bookstore. Mm-hmm. But when I finished school in 2007 and I moved here, I was like, okay, I need to go get a book. And I went, and then I found out that Montessori Books was not open anymore. And so while this is what that idea came to be, where I was like, I want to own a bookstore because it's something that we need. So from there, I went and I was in grad school still. I started grad school for my MBA. Okay. And then I was like, I don't know anything about a bookstore, so let me go ahead and find out this information. Yeah. And so that's where this whole 10-year journey started to be. Since the idea formed back in 2008, I knew my bookstore was going to be named Kizzy's after the character from Roots. I knew where I wanted my store to be located at. So through this whole process, I had to learn the industry to make sure I knew a lot of stuff, because I wanted to make sure I had a strong understanding of how to open up a bookstore, how to manage a bookstore. And so last year I just stepped out on faith and started to do the process. And now my bookstore is currently online, but I do have plans of opening up a bookstore in the fall of this year in the Paramore area.
Okay. So now how long have, because I just want to tell you the type of person I am. So the type of person that I am is one that I have an idea and then I just immediately just do it, and I appreciate the fact that you took time to actually learn that industry so that you can offer the best bookstore to our community. And the reason, y'all, let me tell you something. This is the first time that I'm actually interviewing somebody that's in my own city. Usually I'm interviewing people in different states. So I can say ours because I live in the Orlando area also. So how was that? Did you ever feel like giving up because you were putting yourself into a new industry and you knew it was going to take time to learn a lot about it in order to properly offer something to the community?
No, it didn't. I didn't want to give up. It's just that along the way, I was like, I have to know this information because, my mom always told me, she was like, you have to, she says, either sink or swim. And I was like, I know nothing about this industry. So I was like, I do not want to just open up a bookstore and I sink because of lack of knowledge.
That's good.
So that's so from there, what I did was I joined ABA as a prospective member. That's ABA is the American Booksellers Association. So then
Mm-hmm.
I learned information there. I grabbed as much information as possible. I went to a couple of their conferences and was able to meet up um, with other bookstore owners and pick their brains and met some amazing people. And then so last year, I was like, okay, I done did this for so long. It's time for me to go ahead and do step out on faith. So then that's what I did. So even along the way, as I did some other things, I went to school, got my doctorate, and then still teaching and stuff. This bookstore idea has always been on my mind. So some changes have happened along the way as the years went by. The logo changed to what it is that you finally see what it is today, and I love my logo. So it's just and it speaks for what Kizzy's is about. So
Mm-hmm.
it's along the way. It's just I always say. If you want something, it might take time, but as long as you work for it, the end product is going to be something amazing. And so
Mm-hmm.
I can see that now, especially with Kizzy's, is that this is going to be this bookstore when it opens. It's going to be something that's going to be amazing because what it's going to be doing, and our goal is to rebuild the African American literature community in Orlando and to have that place where those lovers of African American books and the culture, no matter what shade of color that they are, they can come
Mm-hmm.
together and discuss literature, talk about books, everything, and just be able to mingle, and to have that because like right now we don't have that spot where we can go and just pick up a book that's just for
Yeah,
us because right
good.
now we have Barnes and Noble and there's other places, but the selection is very limited. So and
Mm-hmm.
it's like finding a needle in a haystack. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I was like, we need to have this here, something that promotes literacy and has is quality books, and that way we can have that spot where authors can come and connect with us as well.
That's
So
good. And you know what? I'm really glad that you mentioned that this bookstore is for people of all shades because I don't want somebody to watch this episode and say,
uh,
well, I'm not black. You are still welcome to the book.
yeah, it's just
You are
all are
still
welcome. What I'm focusing on is just the African American literature. So
welcome.
there's other people that's that are from different backgrounds and ethnicities, and they love African American literature as well. So I've met some amazing people that loved our literature as well. So it's everybody is welcome. As
That's
long
good.
as you love the the culture and the literature and the books that we have, you're welcome. You know, you're welcome to the little tribe of Kizzies.
Come on, tell them, tell them. Become a Kizanite. Um, so let me ask you this. So we do
uh-huh,
have viewers that's watching from out of state. And
uh-huh.
so what could they do to possibly help you to possibly further your mission on opening
Okay.
up this bookstore in the fall, as well as help your online bookstore? Is there anything
Okay.
that they can do?
One of the things that you can do, I have a Facebook page with Kizzies. On that Facebook page, I post a lot of information about book recommendations. I'm getting ready to launch soon another campaign to help with raising funding on a GoFundMe account.
Mm-hmm.
And this GoFundMe account, my goal is going to be to raise $100,000, and this money is going to go towards the initial inventory costs and the technology costs because the square footage that I plan on having for the bookstore is 2,000 square feet.
Okay.
So the amount of money that I raise is going to go towards my initial inventory costs because there's some amazing things that's going to be put into this store. So right now, I'm going to just be on the lookout on the Facebook page. I'm going to launch that put an advertisement on there about the GoFundMe page that I'm going to have. It's going to happen sometime this week. So
Okay.
please just follow on our Facebook page is Kizzy's Books and More.
Okay.
So it's KIZZY' Books and More.
Mhm.
And you can find us. You'll see this beautiful logo with the lady with the afro. And you see the bookmark under her saying Kizzy. So that's her.
It
So
is
that's
cute.
one way. And the books, my website as well is Kizzy's www.kizzysbooksandmore.com, and you can purchase books from there from the website.
That's
Only
good.
thing that I ask is like if on the website, if you see there's a hard to find book, is that you just contact me and then I can check with the availability of it. So, but if other than that, you can purchase books on the website and they ship within 1 to 5 business days.
Oh, that's good. That's solid. Um,
Mm-hmm.
And the good thing about this is, you guys, you don't even have to remember like the website and the Facebook page that she just said, because it's all in the description box. And so it's links. And so you can actually just click on those links right now. I'm going to give you a couple seconds while we continue to talk, and you can go ahead and visit her Facebook page in the description box. Click on that link. Go ahead and follow and like her page so that when she does post her GoFundMe campaign page, then you will be immediately notified so that you can actually start donating to this cause. And you know what? You can donate any amount, because I know some people be like, oh man, I don't have $20 to donate. That's okay. $5 will help
Mm-hmm.
also. So, but I just want to throw out a couple of comments that we had. Thank you, Regina Patterson, for joining the show today. So Regina's question, well, first her comment is, I'm going to show her comment to you all. So it says, it's hard to find books by Black authors. I searched so hard at Barnes and Nobles. So her question for you, Trenessa, is, have you ever thought about creating partnerships with people with similar goals in other states? Now, just to give you a little bit
So
background about Regina, she actually lives in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and she has a marketing company. Regina, if you want to go ahead and post your marketing company, but that probably is the reason why she's asking that question. So you can either let Regina know that you'll contact her offline, or you can go ahead and answer her question if you would like to.
okay. Hi, Miss Regina. You see, I'm waving again. I need to keep my hand down. So, I, to be honest, I haven't thought about any other partnerships for the bookstore, and that's one of the main reasons why that started this idea of owning an African American bookstore was to find the limited access of books on Barnes and Noble. I love Barnes and Noble, but it was so hard for me to find uh, a book there that actually had our Black authors there. They had the best sellers there, but they were so mixed. You would spend 30 minutes trying to find a book. But I haven't thought about partnerships um, with partnering with other people outside of the state.
Mhm.
But one of the things that I have thought about and played around with the idea is after my bookstore becomes established, is to have a mobile bookstore that can travel around in the areas to various other parts of
Oh,
to
that's
like
cool.
Eatonville and various other things for events. Um, that's one of the ideas that I have had in mind, but having a partnership outside of the state, I haven't thought about that yet, Miss Regina. Maybe a couple years down the line, once Kizzy's get established and we have a strong name for ourselves, that idea will come into place. But as of right now, not I haven't thought about going outside of state yet, or to having another location.
Right, right. And I'm just going to put on here Regina's, this is actually her website, because she also focuses on um, helping in like entrepreneurs and business
Hmm.
owners with their marketing, and she focuses on minorities and African Americans and Blacks as well. So
Okay.
shout out to y'all that's focusing on our people group right now. So with the emergence of ebooks, why have you still decided to open a physical location?
Martinique, that's one of the things that people keep. That's one of the myths that people keep saying. No one's buying books; they are reading ebooks. Actually, in all actuality, book sales are very strong right now, and a lot of people are still going to that store and purchasing those books from the mom and pop stores, or whether it's a, um, a, a regular chain brick and mortar. So people are actually going out there and they are buying the physical books as well as the ebooks. So book sales are doing exceptionally well.
It's good.
So that's one of the things. Books are not going to go anywhere. So ebooks might change because of change of technology, but actual physical books, people are actually going out and purchasing physical books because they like that smell. I know I like the new smell of a book.
Uh-huh.
So people are actually, that's one of the things that people are, one of the myths that people are going about is number one, that people are not, that bookstores are not doing well right now, that people are not buying books because of the ebooks, but in actuality, people are buying books and the sales are doing really well. And then one of the other things, I'm just going to throw this out there as well. A couple people even thought, like, why a black bookstore? But if you look at it right now, um, there was a decline for a couple years, but there's more of us coming and opening up bookstores. So there's an increase within the last couple of years. You have Mahogany Books in DC. Excuse me if I got the location wrong, but there's several other different African American bookstores. You have Uncle Bobby's that's in Philly. There's so many different African American bookstores that's here and that's doing good and doing well. It's just that people are just going by with the myths, and in actuality, we're doing good.
That's good.
So,
That's good. And you know what? That's really good that you bring encouragement to so many African American and Black authors that we actually have, to let them know, continue to write your book, because like you said, books are not going anywhere. This technology change. And then I know when my phone go out, then what you got? You don't have no book. So that's why it's good to have that physical.
You just have a dead phone.
Yeah.
That you have to charge so you can get to your book. But with an actual physical book, you can have that for forever. So, and reading is the most amazing thing in the world. And having that book is, I can talk about books anyway.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for a recommendation. So even on the Kizzy's page, I have on there where I ask for people that comes on the page on my website, if they want to give a recommendation for a book, just fill out the little form on there and recommend a book. Because we're always looking for recommendations for a book, no matter what it is,
Okay. And we actually have a couple people that just joined into the show. Hey, everybody. So if you guys can do us a favor, go ahead and share this episode now to your Facebook page so people will be able to learn so much more about Kizzy Books and more. While they're doing that, we actually have a question on the floor. So hey, Shekinah Hall.
Shekinah
Hall. Sorry, Shekinah. Oh, Shekinah. So Shekinah actually asked you the question. She said, hello, first of all. Do you offer other books beside African-American books within Kizzy's Books and More?
Okay, on my website, I do have other books on there that's besides African American authors, like on the medical section, the self-help section, the religion section, politics section, and there's a couple of other sections on there, business and economics. I do have where there's books that's written beyond, that's not by African American authors. Okay. And the reason why I do have some of those books on my webpage is because I still want us to have access to that knowledge, and I didn't want to just limit it to us. So there's some great things on there Like I even had someone buy a book for me to help them study for the nurse practitioner
Okay.
test. So it's just I just wanted to have that information there so that way we can study. And if you trying to learn another language, you can get that book for another language.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't want to limit the books that we have on there. So there are some books on the website that are by non-African American authors, but the reason why they have been placed there is just so that way we can purchase those books and we can obtain that knowledge
Right, right.
just to broaden our base. So I'm not losing the mission or anything like that. It's just to broaden just to make sure that we have access to that as well.
Definitely. And we actually have Kimberly Holmes that actually just joined the show. Thank you, Kimberly. Kimberly, if you can go ahead and share this video now to your Facebook page, that would be awesome. But you know what? I'm really glad that another reason why I'm glad that you're on the show is because I want people to automatically begin to think, man, I want this African-American author. Who do I need to go to? What bookstore I need to go to? What website I need to go to? And I want them to come to you first. You know, so guys, make sure that you go ahead and favorite her website so that it's automatically saved on your electronic device for that. But Trenessa, so people might be asking this question, and that's why I'm here. You know, that's why I'm here to ask questions for the people. So the question is, what made you actually fall in love with the idea of even opening up a bookstore?
I always liked books. Like I can go into the bookstore, even if it was Barnes and Noble or Books A Million or Borders. And I would go in there I'm going in there for one book. You know, see, I stretch my eyes like one, like, you know, really like I'm going for one book. But then next thing you know, I'm like, I'm only here for 10 minutes. And then I'm there for 2 hours sitting on the floor, using up their air and skimming a book that I'm going to later buy. So it's just, I always had a love for books and reading. And this has just been since I've been a young child. So, and I just love books. You know, it's just, you see how I get excited? My eyes just went, but excuse, if you haven't noticed, I'm a giggler, sorry. But yeah, I always love the art of reading. So I'm always looking for a good book. I'm always looking for a good author. There's some amazing books, some amazing authors that I came in contact with. And I just accidentally just happened, the synopsis of the book just caught my attention. And then next thing you know, I had a connection with that author and I've been following them for years. So it's just, you know, I've always had that love for reading. And then if somebody will just say, hey, did you read this book? And next thing you know, I'm like, no, I didn't. And I put that on my list. And if the books are amazing and if the author is great, next thing you know, I'm buying 20 more of their books, or I'm just waiting for that book to be released when I find out they have another book coming out. So, but yeah, so it's just, I've always had the love for reading a book since I was a young child, and it never went away, even when I was in school. Reading was the ID channel, and reading a good book was my outlet for when I was working on my doctoral study. So, so it's just been there. And then, you know, some amazing people have also talked about books with me as well. And, you know, that's good to have somebody that's, you know, really ready to recommend a book for you. And that's, you know, that's just awesome.
Yeah, and Shekinah also mentioned, she said, I still love opening up a book, especially by the pool at the beach. Go get your book, girl. Go ahead and visit Kizzy's website.
Excuse me.
That's okay. So let me ask you this. Do you, as a bookstore owner, do you carry the burden of helping people to find out about your less known African American authors?
No, actually I don't feel like I carry the burden, because it's always, some people are asking, okay, well, who's your favorite author, or who would you recommend for for this. And I say there's so many people that you can recommend. And then, there's always some people that's always saying, have you read by such and such author? And this is great. Or, or, we talked about, with James Baldwin's Bill Street movie that just came out. That
Mhm.
book was amazing. And so, some people talk about that or ask about um, my thoughts on the works of James Baldwin, because he's awesome. His words are poetic and everything. It's literature is great.
Mhm.
So it's, people, I don't feel like there's a burden when people are asking about authors or talking about the works of an author or asking about the opinion of what I thought about some things, is because there's some amazing works, and then there might be some authors I never heard about, and I'm like, man, I never heard about that author. Let me look into it. So I don't feel like it's a burden, because knowledge is power. Is the most amazing thing. It's the most beautiful thing. So if I don't know, that's why I'm like, okay, let me write this down so that way I can put this author on my radar. So, because there's a million great authors out there, but I might not know about them. You might not know about that author, but we might just have that discussion, and the next thing you know, we dropping names, and like, oh, I didn't know. So I don't think it's a burden, because it's you're sharing thoughts and ideas, and you're learning from each other about whose work is out there. And one thing is a promotion of that author, because I might not know, but you know about that author, and that word of mouth is one of the most amazing things for authors.
Mhm.
So that's like great publicity. Word of mouth marketing is great, and that can build
Right.
up that brand loyalty and that loyalty for the works of that author.
Well, I wasn't so much meaning like being burdened when people ask you questions. It's
Oh,
more so, yeah, it's more so like, do you feel, because you are someone that focuses on
okay.
putting their books like in your bookstore, but do you
Uh-huh.
feel like a burden is on your shoulder, kind of, because you want to have less known African American and other minority authors, help them to be known? Like, do you ever feel any type of burden like that?
Oh no, I don't.
Okay.
To be honest, I really don't. One of the things, especially, I've had a couple indie authors that reached out to me about trying to get their book in my store, and then
Mm-hmm.
I just let them know that as of right now, I don't have the space to have their book in the store. But
Mm-hmm.
on my website, I do have some indie books, some indie African American, independent African American authors on there. And how I have them on my site is because however, they are placed with my distributor. So that's how I'm able to have them on my site. But I don't think it's a burden. It's just right now, I just don't have the space for it.
Space. Mm-hmm.
Because that's one of the things as well, just to help them, even if it's just even if I just have three of their books in the store, that's three more than
Then none.
none. And
Yeah.
then also it's just, that indie spotlight, just to say, hey, do you know about this book here? They're independent author, but their work is amazing. There's a lot of independent authors that I'm following and that
Mm.
I read their work, and they have some of the best, and they're bestsellers too. And
Okay.
they have some of the most amazing work out there.
Yeah. And are you from Orlando?
Mm-mm. I'm from South Florida, Fort Lauderdale.
So let me ask you this.
Uh-huh.
Why did you decide to have your brick and mortar, your location in Orlando?
I've been in Orlando since I graduated from FAMU in 2007. So
Okay.
I moved here and I never left.
Mhm.
So when I moved here, I love the city, and when I came here in 2000, I came here like in November 2007.
Okay.
And I started grad school for my MBA in January. And then
Okay.
this is when that idea formed. And then I was like, I want to own a bookstore. And then I was like, well, where do I want to own it? And then I started doing research and stuff. And then I was like, okay, Paramore is going to be revitalized soon. So the Paramore area has always been on my radar for having a bookstore there ever since the idea formed.
Okay.
So, I've been here about 12 years. So I'm not going to be going anywhere anytime soon. So Orlando has always been, this has been home for me since 2007. If I talk, if I go back to my drop-in visits, if I go back to my drop-in visits when I was visiting my sister, I've been here. If I would count those years, that's since '99. So if you include my drop-in visits,
Okay.
with my sister, so this is pretty. This has been like a second home besides where I'm from in South Florida. So, when I was in school, it's either I would come down here or Fort Lauderdale, whichever one I would jump in the car for. So this has just been that second home.
So Shakana actually asked the question, have you partnered with any other groups to market your bookstore?
Actually, what I've done is to market my bookstore, I've put it on the Black excuse me, the Black Women's Network, and various other networking communities where they share ideas and stuff. So I've been putting on there. Kisses has been spread um, throughout the Facebook atmosphere. So I've been putting the word out. The press release that was done about 2 months ago, that helped with actually bringing that exposure about what we are, about Kizzy's, because I've been getting a lot of positive feedback about Kizzy's as a whole. And a lot of people have been saying some positive things. Like when my press release first came out, somebody from Mississippi called me on my phone. It was like, you showed up on my timeline, and I just want to give you some words of encouragement because this is needed. And then that phone call from Miss Brenda, I remember her name. That was like so great, and that was awesome. So ever so often, I do have where people reach out. So, and I've had somebody from Canada and so from all over. So I've been using various other different
mediums to really
do it, and platforms to do it as well. So the exposure is building up, and the anticipation. There's a lot of people that has said to me that they're waiting for the actual store to open up so that way they can flood it. Because excuse me, allergies. But they're waiting for the actual store to open because they know that there's going to be some positive and amazing things that's going to happen with it.
Definitely. Now, after speaking with you before the show, I really just felt like you want to bring more than just another place to buy books in the neighborhood. What type of communal presence do you desire to really accomplish in your community?
Oh, sorry, Martinique. I got excited. I didn't mean to cut you off.
So silly. I already know what you're about to say.
I got excited. You see how I was ready to answer the question. But one of the things is that, especially with Kizzy's, our goal is we want to be that place that promotes literacy, but we want to also have that engagement component where we connect with those of the community. So there's a couple events that I do have planned at the store when we physically have it open, and a couple of the things. One of the things that I want to have at my I'm still tweaking and ironing some stuff out with it, but an event it's a story to life event, and when I say story to life, this will be children's stories during a story time that'll happen one Saturday a month, where kids will come and they will see one of their childhood stories reenacted by local actors that volunteer their time of color. So just to expose them to that art and to get them engaged, to let them know, hey, there's there's others out here, because I love the arts, and that's one of the things that my mom exposed us to, was that of the arts. So, and that's, I want to use that part of the bookstore is as a little bit of an element to expose that part of the arts. And another thing that I do want to have at the store as well, have plans of having, is something called a mocktails, books and conversations event,
Mm-hmm.
where one Wednesday of the month we just meet and you just discuss books with various other people. You can recommend a book, talk about whatever your favorite book is, just to have that platform over a mocktail
Mm-hmm.
and a
That's gonna be
small hors
so
d'oeuvre.
nice.
So, and it's just a relaxed place. We just want to be that, kids, this is going to be that place where we can come together and we can just talk about books, meet up, where authors can come in and connect with their target audience here and in the Orlando and surrounding area. Because right now, when Montessori Books closed, it really, that was the most amazing bookstore here in Orlando. And
Mm-hmm.
when they closed, it was like the place for African American authors wasn't really here anymore. So that's where we want to bring that back. So that back to where we come together, promote literacy, amongst us as what amongst African American readers,
Mm-hmm.
and just have a great time with the book. You know.
Yeah. And I think that's going to be really awesome for
Mhm.
the community to be able to experience, and
Mhm.
just that type of event, just to have an option,
Mhm.
to do something different,
Mhm.
to do something else. And
Mhm.
so I just can't wait to you start having those different type of events
Mhm.
at your bookstore. So this question is really just dear to my heart, because
Okay.
I know the influence of
Mhm.
books, and
Uh-huh.
the influence that, well, their ability to encourage you. So
Uh-huh.
I feel that books really help you to explore different possibilities
Mhm.
for yourself in the long run, and for
Mhm.
your future. How
Mhm.
would you encourage those parents that really don't invest in their kids reading, so
Mhm.
that they can see, okay, this is the environment I live in now,
Mhm.
but when I pick up a book, I'm able to see
Mhm.
an array of possibilities for my
Mhm.
life.
Because even with I always tell little kids, and reading is the most amazing thing. It's like you have your imagination. It sparks that creativity, that creative aspect. Like with reading, you can visualize. It might give you that description, but as you read it, that creativity goes into place, and that escapism give you that out of the room experience where you're visualizing. Say if it's in a magical kingdom, by the time they describe that kingdom, you visualize that kingdom and be like, oh man, I am here fighting those dragons with my cheeseburger, you
Yeah.
know. You know, so it's, those type of things. It's like the most amazing things, because even like with little kids, and we're talking about, and they tell me about what their favorite book is, and I'm like, well, why do you like that book? And then when they light up, and then they probably stretch the truth about the book, but
Mhm.
then by the time they finish telling that story, you become a fan of that book, and you have them visualize, because kids are the best storytellers. So
Mhm.
if they have that imagination. So if you give them a book and they want to talk about their favorite book, even though they probably read it 6 million times, but then when that creativity come in and it sparks that storytelling gives that whole book a whole nother light.
Mhm.
So and books give something that TV does not, and that's that creativity. Because with the TV, you already have that visual component,
Mhm.
and it tells you what the element of that show is. So it gives you who the characters are and that visual of what they look like. But with an actual book, when you read that book, it's all into the mind and the thoughts of that reader. So you can interpret it however you want. Yes, that they might say that that person looked in a certain way, but then once you get into the personality of that character, people are like, no, no, we made this bond. You do
Uh,
not look this way. This is how
uh,
I feel this character looks. So then that way you molded and you built that connection. And that's one of the things that's great, especially with reading. And if you start off with a child at a younger age and just say, here is a bookstore, pick your book,
mm-hmm.
get lost. And once they pick one of the books that and they find it that they like, they'll say, "Did you get this book or X, Y, and Z?" Because even with my nephew, sorry about that. Even with my nephew, a couple times I just gave him a book and he was like, "Man, I like this book." And then a couple of them they were ARCs, advanced readers copies, and
Mm-hmm.
he read the book before it came out, and he was like, "Auntie Missy, I got this book and it just came out in the store." I said, "Yeah." And he said, "It was great. I loved it." And
Yeah.
so, even even that, some kids, if you just give them a book and it's just sparked their curiosity, and then now they have fictional books that's geared towards STEM and STEAM, and
Yeah.
then that can help with those kids with learning of that, the science and technology and all of that stuff.
Definitely. And if you are an adult that really is not into reading, we just encourage you to start
Hmm.
picking up a book because um, it's just so much knowledge. Like, I really like reading the self
Hmm.
help books as well as the
Hmm.
biographies and stuff
Hmm.
because a lot of times we see like these celebrities and things like that, and we like, man, they doing great. They must have had such and such when they was older. No, if you read their biography, they
Hmm.
didn't have nothing. And so that's what
Hmm.
I feel like the power of books um, really hold. So
Hmm.
my question is, what advice would you give to a viewer who wants to open
Uh,
up a bookstore?
okay, one of the things that I would recommend is first, before opening up the bookstore, make sure you have a solid plan. Formulate your ideas to write down what type of bookstore that it is. Go in and look into, especially defining the reason why.
Mm,
And I tell my students when I teach entrepreneurship to them, especially when you're going and you deciding to go into the business and you're defining your plan. Why are you going to define your why? Like, why are you forming up this business? So um, when you go into the aspects of owning up a bookstore, especially if you don't know anything like myself, I highly recommend that you join ABA, the American Booksellers Association, as a provisional member, because the reason why is so much information that they have on the industry. They have information about owning a bookstore, operating a bookstore, and then they have these conferences where even if you're a provisional, you can go to these conferences and you can network and connect with other indie bookstore owners. And these are people that's from across the country. And when I first joined ABA, and still to this day, when I go to a conference or um, I can meet new owners of bookstores or various others, and they give those encouraging words, or they share that information that'll help you gaining that insight about operating, whether
mm,
it's challenges or not challenges at all. So I do recommend that you learn about the industry, and that I say become a member of ABA, because they know they know about what's going on with the industry. Another thing as well, that I did this last year. I went through the Paz and Associates. They have this training, week long training. Prior to that, they have an online thing that you can go through to learn information, and they have training where you go through to learn about managing a bookstore,
mm,
operating a bookstore, and it goes over everything from layout to various other different things. So it is pricey, but it's you're investing in what you want.
Yeah.
And that's what one thing that I tell my when I talk to my students, especially about dealing with entrepreneurship and they're talking about owning these businesses. One of the things that is very important that you do is that you find out what are the key organizations within that industry and you become a member of that organization because
Mhm.
they have an understanding of the trends of what's going on, the challenges, and you can be well informed with the knowledge of what's going on. And then you can connect with other people that's part of that industry. And you might find a mentor, or you might find just someone that if you have a issue with your business, you can just bounce an idea off of, or just to go to them and link up with them to just be your sounding board because they are in the same industry as you. So
Yeah.
that's one of the things I would tell if you want to own a bookstore, just make sure that you have a true understanding of the industry, what's needed for the bookstore, how to do your inventory, all of that stuff, because it's very important with
Hmm.
any business in general that you have knowledge about it because you want to do well and you don't want to fold 2 years after you open up your bookstore.
Hmm.
Not
Hmm.
unless if that's part of your exit strategy. But failing shouldn't be part of your exit strategy. But
Yeah.
but just make sure that you have an understanding of the industry and just to see even if you have that idea, but just to go in and look into do your research and stuff, then once you're in that research stage and that idea formation stage, once you find out that it might not be what you want, but at least going through that process and learning,
Hmm.
you're able to find out that it wasn't for you, then to put in all this money and resources in a place, and then it doesn't do well because you found out that it was not right for you. So that's one of the things that um, I would tell people that want to own a bookstore. Do your research first just to make sure that and join ABA and make sure you have a solid plan for it in
Yeah.
general. Yeah. But yeah, it's great. I wouldn't trade it for anything because I've met some amazing people throughout the process and it's been awesome.
That's really good. And are you saying Pads, Pads?
No, PAZ and associates.
PA.
Like Pat, yeah, PAZ.
Okay.
PAZ. And the people that's over it is Mark and Donna Kaufman.
Okay.
And it's right here in Amelia Island, Florida. That's where the training is. So
Okay.
they're knowledgeable about the industry. It's great. It's amazing. It's worth the money and the investment
Hmm.
because it'll tell you exactly. It'll go through that process of actually owning a bookstore and stuff like that. Just by going through that, that's how I met the person that did my logo, created my logo and my website for me.
Okay.
So that's how, yeah, it's Paz and Associates. So
Okay.
if you look it up, they have a training on owning and managing a bookstore. And the industry that the organization that I talked about was the American Booksellers Association, ABA. So,
Okay.
and you can join them even if you don't own a bookstore. You can join them as a provisional.
Hmm.
And they, a lot of the bookstores is from various other different types of genres. So it can be just a regular general bookstore or nonfiction bookstore, or various different types of independent bookstores that's part of that organization. So
That's really good. And we just have Michael that actually just joined in the show. Michael, if you can go ahead and share this video to your page, that would be great. One last question for you, though. For individuals that are interested in opening a bookstore, do you feel that the best thing for them to do first is to create a online bookstore?
to be honest, I just say to go with what you feel. Um, because like with myself, I decided, I said, okay, I'm gonna do my online store first and then have my bookstore.
Mhm.
So, but it's all on based on how the person feels. Go with what your gut feel and your instincts. If you want to open up the books, have the brick and mortar first and then have the website, then the online store, then that's great, and that's awesome. So just, I would say, just go with what you feel, go with what your gut instincts say, and what your research on says, how you feel. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't detail, because I just went this route because I just was like, I'm going to go ahead and do this,
Mhm.
and that's what I did.
Definitely. Well, Trenessa, I'm just so thankful that you are on the show. Thank you for just taking time to just share your knowledge on how you went about actually creating your online bookstore, as well as developing and starting your physical location. We're just thankful in the Orlando area that you decided to stay here and create it here, because we really are. I know I am. I can't speak for Orlando people. I know I'm excited because I've only been here for 2 years, and
Uh,
I actually have not heard of any places doing things like this.
mhm.
So I just can't wait. Again, I thank you for being a guest on the show and helping us know a lot more about Kizzy's books and more. Thank you all for just taking time to spend your Saturday with us, just taking time out your busy day and just
Mhm.
learning more about Trenessa and her bookstore. Make sure that you also visit her Facebook page as well as her website, and make sure that you let people know, because word of mouth is so major nowadays. We see so many posts on Facebook, but if one of my friends like Regina Patterson, if she say, Martinique, you should get your book from Kizzy's Books and More, I'm like, I trust her. I would get my book from Kizzy's Books and More. So word of mouth is
Mhm.
so powerful. And also, what
Mhm.
else is powerful is the share button here on Facebook. So make sure you share this episode now. So again, thank you guys so much for tuning into the show. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, Martinique the Storyteller, as well as on my Facebook page, Martinique Y Brown, and my YouTube channel, Martinique the Storyteller. I hope you guys have a great remainder of the day, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for having me.